AITA for dumping my fiancée after catching her plotting to take everything? I am a 30-year-old man who owns a landscaping business. I started it from scratch about 6 years ago, and it has been going pretty well. I have a few crews, solid commercial contracts, and we are known as the specialists for high-end landscape renovations in upscale neighborhoods around the Atlanta suburbs. My name is Dylan, and until 3 weeks ago, I was engaged to Kayla, 29. We had been together for 3 years, engaged for 1 year, and the wedding was supposed to take place next weekend. Yes, supposed to. When we met, Kayla seemed perfect, smart, funny, and supportive of my business. You know how it goes. She worked at a marketing firm, made a decent living, but was always interested in what I was doing. Looking back, maybe too much, but you do not see that kind of thing when you are in love. Her older sister, Brittany, is divorced and received a substantial settlement after her marriage to an ex-husband who owned a construction company. Ever since we got engaged, Brittany was always around, giving Kayla advice about marriage. At first, I did not pay much attention to it. I just thought she was protecting her little sister. You need to understand his business before you marry him, Kayla. Make sure your name is on everything, Kayla. Do not let him hide the finances from you, Kayla. That kind of comment was said in front of me, disguised as a joke, which should have been a red flag. But I figured whatever, it is just Brittany being bitter about her own failed marriage. Kayla would always laugh when I mentioned how annoying Brittany was. About 6 months ago, Kayla started asking more detailed questions about my business. How much are certain contracts worth? What is our profit margin? What are my expansion plans? At first, I brushed it off. I thought it was cool that she was interested in my company, but over time it did not feel like curiosity anymore. It felt like an interview. Every question sounded less like I am interested in you and more like what is in it for me. It is hard to explain, but the way she pushed to know the numbers, the contracts, the future plans, it felt transactional, not intimate. I felt more like a target than a fiancé, but I pushed that thought away. You tell yourself you are just being paranoid, that it is pre-wedding stress, right? Then she started pressing about the prenuptial agreement. My buddy, who is also my lawyer, Greg, suggested we get one since I had the business before I met her. Kayla always said she just wanted to understand it better before signing. I told her Greg was still finalizing the contract. Fast forward to 3 weeks ago. I was working late in my home office at our suburban house. Kayla thought I had gone to a meeting with a potential client, but they canceled at the last minute. She had her college friends over, including Brittany. They were hanging out in the living room, getting louder as the evening went on. I was finishing up some estimates when I heard my name through the door. Dylan has no idea what is coming to him after the wedding, Kayla said. Her voice sounded a little unsteady. Something in her tone froze me. I am not proud of what I did next, but oh well. I opened my voice recorder app and just listened through the door. The prenuptial agreement is not going to hold, she continued. Brittany found me a lawyer who identified 3 different ways around it. After the wedding, we will claim everything he has. Why does he even bother with a prenup? One of her friends asked. He thinks he is protecting both of us. Kayla laughed a cold laugh that I had never heard before. But Brittany taught me how this works. I have been documenting stories of emotional mistreatment for months. It is all fabricated, obviously, but who is going to question a woman in tears? I felt dizzy listening to them detail their plan. How Kayla would gradually put her name on my assets after the wedding. How she had gradually isolated me from my friends who could have interfered. How she had waited for my business to reach a certain value before pushing for the marriage. After the wedding, we will take everything he has. She laughed. The house, the business, everything. Then I will move away just like Brittany did after her divorce. She got half of everything plus ongoing support. Learn from the best, Brittany threw in. Men are so predictable when they are in love. I recorded everything. Almost 45 minutes of them discussing their plan. When they finally left, I waited in my office until Kayla went to bed. Then I quietly packed my suitcase, grabbed my important documents, and checked into a Motel 6 across town. That night, after hearing those words, something inside me just snapped. It was like a switch flipped, and all the love or connection I thought I had for her just shut off. Cold. I did not feel betrayed as much as I felt numb, as if she had reached her hand inside of me and pulled something out. And now it was just gone. I was no longer Dylan, her fiancé. I was just some guy she was waiting to take advantage of. And from that moment on, I stopped seeing her as the woman I loved. I started seeing her as a stranger who had lived in my house, in my life, faking it. First thing in the morning, I called Greg. And sent him the recording. "Dylan," he said after listening to it. "Do not go home. Do not confront her. We need to handle this very carefully. What should I do?" I asked, still in shock. "First, act normal. Do not let on that you know anything. Next, we need more evidence. The recording is good, but we should build a stronger case." So that is what I did. I texted Kayla saying I had landed a huge emergency commercial project out of town and that I would be gone for 2 weeks. "Great, honey," she replied. "Do not worry about the wedding. I have got it all handled. Just focus on that contract." Reading that message, knowing what I now knew, made me feel sick. 3 years together, and I had no idea who this person really was. So here I am in this basic motel room, trying to figure out how my life turned into this situation. Greg is helping me plan the next steps, and I am playing along with all of Kayla's texts and calls about the wedding. "I miss you, honey. I cannot wait for our big day," she texted me last night. "I miss you too. Not much longer now," I replied, wondering how I never noticed how fake she sounded before. $43,000 in wedding deposits, which are mostly non-refundable at this point. All our friends and family coming next week. Everything planned down to the smallest detail. And me sitting in a motel room planning how to end it all in the most clear-cut way possible. Because if there is one thing I have learned from building my business from nothing, it is this. Nobody touches what I have built. Nobody. Anyway, I will keep you updated when I have more to share because right now my mind is racing. Update 1. First, thank you for all your comments and support on my last post. Some of you are downright creative with your suggestions, but I appreciate the intent. It has been about a week since I found out my fiancée Kayla was planning to claim my assets after our wedding. I am still living in this basic motel with thin walls and a mattress that feels uncomfortable. The neighbors next door were quite noisy, either arguing or celebrating. Either way, sleeping is tough. Every night, I lie awake replaying our entire relationship in my head, trying to spot the warning signs I missed. There were so many. The way she always deflected conversations about her past relationships. How she gradually suggested I spend less time with certain friends. How she would drop comments about other entrepreneurs she knew who had supportive partners to help them run the business. I was so blind, but I am playing along with Kayla. I call her every night to tell her how the emergency project is going and ask for wedding updates. She is so excited telling me about the floral arrangements and the music playlists when I know it is all fake. It is like watching someone dig their own grave thinking they are building a pool. "The wedding will be perfect," she said last night. "My dress fitting went great, and Brittany helped me pick the perfect shoes." Ah yes, Brittany. The divorced sister who was coaching Kayla on how to claim everything. After that first night, I started doing some research on my own. It turns out Brittany did not just get divorced. She methodically dismantled her ex-husband's construction company. The guy had to declare bankruptcy and move back in with his parents at 42. She got the house, half of his future earnings, and even managed to get ownership of a vacation cabin his parents had given him before they even met. The guy was so broken he did not even fight back. I got all this information after spending hours checking old social media, tracking down mutual friends who knew them both, and even finding a few news articles about the bankruptcy. The more I looked, the clearer the pattern became. Brittany was not just a bitter divorcee. She had a history of this. But then I started digging into Kayla's past. Remember, I was stuck in this motel with nothing but time and a burning need to understand just how much I had been manipulated. I called old mutual friends, pretending I was working on a wedding surprise and needed stories about Kayla's past relationships for a video montage. What I learned made me physically sick. This was not Kayla's first time trying something like this. Her college boyfriend had a trust fund she had tried to access. Then there was a restaurant owner she dated for a year. Neither of them had as much as me, so she left when they figured out her games. The worst part was realizing I never really knew her. I spent a whole day just sitting on that motel bed wondering if I was crazy. Maybe I had misunderstood the conversation. Maybe I was overreacting, but every time those doubts popped up, I replayed the recording. Her cold laugh. "After the wedding, we will take everything he has." I almost cracked and confronted her 3 times. I almost went back to our house in the middle of the night to wake her up and question her for the betrayal. But each time I reminded myself that was exactly what she would want. Me looking like the unstable, angry guy, proof of her fabricated stories. So instead I got more strategic. I remembered that our house has a security system with cameras that also record audio. I logged in remotely and started watching clips from the past week. And there it was, clear as day. Kayla and Brittany in our living room going over the details of their plan. Once you are officially married, what he wants no longer matters, Brittany told her. Courts favor wives, especially if there is documentation of mistreatment. I just hope he does not refuse to add me to the business, Kayla replied. That is where the real value is. He will not. Men like him are predictable. They respond to flattery and attention. Just keep making him feel important and everything will be fine. Hearing them talk about me like I was easy prey actually helped me deal with the pain. At first I was devastated. 3 years of my life with someone who was just manipulating me. Now I am just angry and motivated. The next step was harder. I needed to access her laptop. When we were talking on the phone, I casually mentioned leaving some work files on our home computer that I needed to retrieve. Could she email them to me? While she was doing that, I remotely connected to the computer with my admin credentials and set up monitoring. 2 days later, I had her passwords. I logged into her emails, her cloud storage, everything. And there it all was. A document titled Dylan's Mistreatment Journal with fabricated entries dating back 18 months. Stuff like Dylan raised his voice at me today when I asked about the company finances. He said it was none of my business and that I would not understand anyway. I felt very belittled and scared. Dylan got upset when dinner was not ready, slammed the door, and ignored me all evening. Dylan controlled what I wore to his company party. Said my outfit was too revealing and made me change. None of that ever happened. I never raised my voice at her. I never ignored her. I never told her what to wear. I cook most of our meals because I am pretty good at it, and she burns even water. I also found emails between her and Brittany dating back 2 years. This was not a spur-of-the-moment idea. She had been planning this since before I even proposed. Brittany was literally giving her a step-by-step plan. First year of marriage, just be perfect, one email said. Second year, start documenting issues in the relationship. Anything can be twisted if you write it down regularly. By the third year, you should have your name on everything. Then boom, you file the paperwork when he least expects it. Another piece of advice from Brittany. Men are simple. Constant flattery and admiration will get you anything you want. Just make him think it is his idea to add you to the business account. The final piece of evidence came when I found her bank statements. She had been moving money into a secret account, about $15,000 so far, money from our joint account that I primarily fund. All this while the wedding preparations continued. Kayla was sending me pictures of decorations, asking my opinion on cake flavors, confirming with vendors. Only 10 days left before I become Mrs. Walker. She texted me this morning with a ton of heart emojis. Right about that, Greg and I have come up with a plan. At first, I just wanted to disappear, ghost her, and let her figure it out when I did not show up at the altar. But Greg pointed out that it would just make me the bad guy in the eyes of everyone who does not know the truth. Plus, Kayla might try to spin it as emotional trauma and come after my assets. So we decided to take a different approach. There are times when I still cannot believe all this is happening. Moments when I remember how happy I thought we were, and I start doubting myself all over again. But then I look at all the evidence I have gathered, and I know I am doing the right thing. I am going home tomorrow pretending the emergency project is finished. Kayla is preparing a special dinner for my return. She does not know yet that I have my own plans for her in about a week. The hardest part will be pretending to be normal when I see her. Kissing her, sleeping next to her, talking about our future, all while knowing she had been planning this betrayal. But I can play this game too. For 9 more days, I will be the perfect loving fiancé. I have accepted losing the $43,000 in deposits, a price worth paying to avoid being legally bound to this person. My business that I poured my heart and soul into for 6 years is safe. That is what matters. I will update when I get back and start the final countdown. Wish me luck. This is going to be the performance of a lifetime. Edit. For those asking for more details on the evidence, I have the original recording, screenshots of their emails, texts, plans, the fake mistreatment journal, the financial statements from the secret account, and the security videos. Greg says it is more than enough not only to stop the wedding, but also to possibly pursue legal action for attempted fraud. Update 2. Guys, it happened. It really happened. I am writing from my new apartment digesting all this, but I promised an update. So here it is. I got back from my emergency project last week, and Kayla threw herself at me as soon as I walked through the door, hugging me, kissing me, telling me how much she had missed me. It was surreal, like watching a movie where someone is wearing a Kayla mask. All I could think about was the recording of her laugh, while talking about taking everything I had built. The week leading up to the wedding was the hardest thing I have ever had to fake. The final cake tastings, picking up our rings, confirming last-minute details. Kayla constantly made remarks that now had completely different meanings to me. "I cannot wait to help you grow the business," she said as we looked at honeymoon photos on her laptop. "We should look into putting my name on the deed after we get back from Hawaii," she casually mentioned during dinner. Every time I just nodded and said, "Sure, we can look into that," while mentally adding the idea to my list of evidence. But there were times when keeping my composure felt like holding back a storm, like when she pulled out a surprise gift for our honeymoon. Matching beach hats with Mr. and Mrs. Walker embroidered on them. I had to excuse myself, lock myself in the bathroom, and stare at the wall until the urge to confront her passed. I was furious. The level of disrespect was extreme. She was smiling, playing house, while she was planning to tear it all down behind my back. I did everything I could not to walk out and end it all right there, but I do not strike blindly. I strike when it counts. Brittany was constantly around helping with the wedding, but mostly making sure their plan was going as expected. She would ask sneaky questions disguised as normal conversation. "Did you finalize that prenuptial agreement? I just want to make sure Kayla is protected." Translation: "Is our plan to bypass it still valid? You must be so glad to have Kayla's marketing expertise for your business." What she really meant was, "You are about to lose half your company." I just smiled and nodded through it all. Meanwhile, Greg and I were finalizing our response. Fast forward to last night, the rehearsal dinner. We had it at a fancy downtown steakhouse in Atlanta. Both families, the bridal party, close friends, about 50 people in total. Kayla was in her element, accepting congratulations, perfectly playing the blushing bride. Her parents were beaming. They had no idea what their daughter and the other daughter were plotting. At least I do not think they knew. Standing next to Kayla, listening to her laugh with her friends, watching her talk about our future, I felt like a ghost, like I no longer existed in her world. She was not talking to me. She was talking to the idea of me, the guy who was going to marry her and hand over his life. I looked at her and thought, I do not know this person. I was not nervous about the confrontation. I was relieved because after tonight, I would finally be free from pretending to love someone who never existed. Brittany kept shooting me smug looks all evening like she was already counting my money. If only she knew what was about to happen. After dinner, during the toasts, Kayla's dad stood up and gave a touching speech welcoming me to the family, explaining that he was entrusting his little girl to a good man. All that sentimental stuff. I genuinely felt sorry for him in that moment. When the toast ended, Kayla was by my side, smiling like everything was perfect. I turned to her parents and said quietly, I need to talk to you both. It is important. Kayla's smile faltered. What is wrong? She asked, looking worried. Just come with me, I said, keeping my voice calm. She did not protest. Her parents exchanged a look and followed. Brittany hesitated, visibly uncomfortable, but she did not really have a choice. Refusing would have looked suspicious. Once the door closed, Greg slipped in behind us. Kayla's eyes widened slightly when she saw my lawyer. What is going on, Dylan? Her dad asked. Is everything okay? No, actually no, I replied. I think you all should hear this. I pulled out my phone and played the recording at full volume. The color drained from Kayla's face as her own voice filled the room. After the wedding, we will take everything he has, the house, the business, everything. I watched her face go from confusion to absolute horror as she realized what was playing. Her parents looked shocked. Brittany's eyes were darting everywhere like she was planning an escape. When the recording ended, I played a few select clips of their conversation from the house security system. Then I showed screenshots of the entries from Kayla's fake mistreatment journal, followed by the emails between her and Brittany. And finally the bank statements showing the money Kayla had secretly moved. Dead silence when I finished. Kayla's mom had tears in her eyes. Her dad looked like he did not know how to process what he had just heard. Brittany stared at the floor. The wedding is canceled, I said calmly. Naturally, Kayla rushed at me to try and grab my phone. You recorded me. That is not right. Greg stepped in. Actually, in our state, Recording conversations you are a part of is completely legal. Furthermore, your home security system is registered under both your names. I advise you to avoid any physical altercation. The worst part, I said, looking at Kayla, still in shock, is that I truly believed you loved me until 3 weeks ago. Her dad finally found his voice. There has to be an explanation. Kayla would not do that. I handed him copies of everything. She did. It is all right here. Maybe ask Brittany about her divorce while you are at it. This is all taken out of context. Brittany started, but her dad cut her off. Shut up. I have heard enough from you. Then his whole demeanor changed. He told me there had to be an explanation. I just held out the copies. He looked at them for about 10 seconds before laughing and throwing the papers on the table. Do you take me for an idiot, Dylan? His voice went ice cold. I know what is going on in the world right now. All this so-called evidence, the recordings, the screenshots, this journal, it is all fabricated. You can make anyone say anything nowadays. I stared at him in disbelief. My daughter would never do that. This is a sick attempt to call off the wedding, and you are using fake evidence to do it. He pointed a finger at me. Let us be very clear. If you cancel this wedding, I will make it my personal mission to destroy your landscaping business. I have connections with half the commercial landlords in this city. Kayla had stopped crying, looking back and forth between her dad and me. Greg stepped forward. Mr. Reynolds, I can assure you. Save your breath, he interrupted him. I do not know what this kid is paying you, but we can beat you. This is pure and simple defamation. The wedding is already canceled, I said firmly, finding my voice again. I already contacted the venue and the main vendors this afternoon. I am not looking for any refunds or compensation. Consider my share of the cost the price of finding out who Kayla really is before it was too late. You are making a huge mistake, he growled. My lawyers will bury you. Kayla was crying again, the kind of sobbing where you cannot even speak properly. Please do not do this, she stammered. I made a mistake. No, Kayla, a mistake is forgetting to buy milk. This was a calculated plan to claim my assets and the fruits of my labor. There is a difference. Do not walk away from my daughter, her dad yelled as I turned on my heels. You have no idea who you are dealing with. Kayla grabbed my arm. You cannot just leave. Where are you going? We need to talk about this. I pulled my arm away. I do not live there anymore. I moved my things out while you were at your final fitting yesterday. The look on her face when she realized I had been playing her all week. Unforgettable. This is not over, her dad warned as I walked out. Not even close. I left them in that room. I did not speak to the other guests. I just got in my pickup truck and went to my new apartment, the one I had rented 2 weeks ago. My phone did not stop ringing immediately. Kayla called 28 times in the first hour. Her dad sent me threats. Her friends, my family, everyone was trying to figure out what happened. I only answered my parents, who had come for the wedding, and I gave them the short version. Mom cried. Dad just asked if I was sure about the evidence. When I explained what I had, he got quiet then said, I will handle the relatives. You take care of yourself. So here I am in my new apartment. Wedding day officially canceled. $43,000 gone up in smoke. But honestly, the best decision I ever made. The weirdest thing is I do not even feel that sad. Just relieved. I had been carrying this weight for 3 years without realizing it until it was gone. That being said, I would be lying if I said I was not worried about the dad following through on his threats. The guy has serious connections in town. I will keep you guys updated if anything major happens. For now, I am just going to eat dinner and sleep in a bed that does not have someone who broke my trust next to me. Edit for those asking if I am worried about defamation lawsuits. No. Truth is an absolute defense against defamation, and I have mountains of evidence. Also, I was careful to only show the evidence to immediate family, not broadcast it publicly. As for her dad's threats against my business, bring it on. I did not build this company from scratch to let myself be intimidated by an angry dad and his connections. Update 3. It went from bad to absolutely chaotic. After the confrontation at the rehearsal dinner, Kayla's dad was not bluffing when he said he was coming after me. He started calling my clients. 2 of them canceled contracts the next day, citing doubts about our reliability. Then I got calls from the bank about irregularities on my business loan. Someone was clearly pulling strings, but that was just the beginning, the night before what should have been our wedding. I was in my new apartment working when there was a loud, insistent knocking at the door. I looked through the peephole and saw Kayla's dad accompanied by her 2 uncles, Two big guys who own a construction company. Open the door, Dylan. We are just here to talk, her dad yelled from the door. Yeah, right. I stayed quiet, hoping he would think I was not there. That is when one of the uncles started trying to force the door. These guys were actually attempting unauthorized entry. I called 911 immediately. Listen, Dylan, this wedding is happening, her dad said through the door. You have humiliated our family enough. You are going to apologize to Kayla. Show up tomorrow, and we will forget all this, he added. The police are on their way, I shouted back. That is when they really started banging on the door. You think the cops will help you? I have friends in the precinct. The lock started to give. I went into the bedroom. I grabbed the baseball bat I keep for home safety and barricaded myself in. They managed to break the door down just as I heard the sirens. Kayla's dad screamed through the bedroom door. This is not over. That business you built is done. You will be lucky if you are still doing lawns after I am done with you. The police finally arrived, and they scattered. Two officers took my statement, but neither seemed very concerned. One of them even asked if this was not just pre-wedding stress getting out of hand. Absolutely mind-blowing. I filed another report, but I did not stay. I grabbed some stuff and went to a buddy's place. I called Greg right away. He helped me get an emergency restraining order against all three of them. Later that night, Kayla started texting again. My dad was just trying to help fix things. Nobody needs to get hurt if you come tomorrow. Please, Dylan, do not make things worse. The wedding day passed. I spent it at a friend's house. Checking my apartment's security app, they did not come back, and I got panic calls from the wedding venue asking where the groom was. Kayla's last text that night: you made an enemy out of the wrong family. I hope your little landscaping business was worth it. At this point, I am genuinely worried. These people cross serious lines. Greg says we have options: restraining orders against the whole family, possible charges for the attempted entry, and a cease and desist letter for interfering with the business. I'm not going to lie, the scariest part is that I am starting to believe Kayla's dad might actually have the connections he claims. One of the cops who responded actually went to high school with him, and 3 more clients dropped us in the 48 hours that followed. I will not back down. However, I built this company from nothing, and I will rebuild it if I have to. But I would be lying if I said I was not scared. Not just for my business, but for my safety. I will keep you updated as soon as I can. For now, I am sleeping on friends' couches, changing locations every night. Final update. It has been 6 months now since everything went down with Kayla and her family, and I am finally in a place where I can turn this page of my life. The months after the wedding that never happened were brutal. Kayla's dad made good on his threats. I lost about 60% of my business in 2 months. Turns out he really did have connections with most of the commercial landlords in the area. Some of my workers quit when the work dried up, and I had to downsize my 3 crews to just me and 2 loyal guys. And as I expected, the police were limited regarding the attempted entry. The case mysteriously lacked sufficient evidence despite the footage from my security cameras. Kayla's dad's high school buddy made sure of that. I ended up having to move about 80 miles to a neighboring town and start my business practically from scratch again. It was tough, but honestly, it was still better than being married to Kayla and stuck in that family. The unexpected light in all this was Amanda. She stood by my side through it all, even when I was basically starting over from scratch. I saw what they are capable of, she told me. I will not let them win. We got an apartment together in the new town, and she helped me rebuild the business. Her background in marketing really came in handy for getting things going again. It turns out her skills were legitimate, unlike Kayla, who just used her job as a cover. The harassment from Kayla's family eventually died down when they realized I was not coming back. The last weird thing I heard was 3 months ago. I was at a regional landscaping conference when I ran into Kayla's dad in the hotel lobby. He was there networking with his construction company. When he saw me, he walked over. I was ready for another confrontation, but instead he just said, "You were right about my daughters." It turns out that after I left, Kayla and Brittany's scheme started to unravel. 3 other people came forward with similar stories. Then Kayla's dad found out she had been moving money from the family business for years. The final nail in the coffin was discovering they had opened credit cards in his name. "I owe you an apology," he said, looking genuinely defeated. "I should have looked at the evidence instead of threatening you." I did not say much. I just nodded and walked away. Too little, too late. My business is finally growing again in the new town. Amanda and I are going strong. We are even talking about getting married next year, but this time with a much smaller ceremony and an ironclad prenuptial agreement that we both agree on. This experience changed me. I am more cautious, for sure, but also more grateful for honesty and straightforwardness. I now record all important conversations by reflex. I screen potential clients more thoroughly, but I am not bitter, which sometimes surprises even me. Last month I got a text from Kayla. I am sorry for everything. I was a different person back then. I did not reply. There is nothing left to say. When I think about how close I came to marrying into that family, it still chills me. But then I look at where I am now, building something real both in my business and with Amanda. And I realize everything worked out the way it was supposed to. They say what does not kill you makes you stronger. In my case, what did not kill me led to a better life than I would have had otherwise. So I guess that is it. Thank you for following this journey with me. If there is one thing I hope someone takes away from all this, it is to trust your gut. If something feels off to you, it probably is. Edit for those asking. Yes, I still record important conversations. Once burned, twice prepared. And to the guy messaging me saying Amanda is just like Kayla, stop. She was the only person who tried to warn me, and she has nothing to do with her former friend. Some people are just genuinely good. Comment. I really appreciate how this story reminds us all to value our own self-respect. When something feels off in a relationship, it's okay to trust that inner voice and set clear boundaries. I have learned that genuine kindness doesn't come with hidden agendas or conditions. Taking responsibility for our own peace is one of the most powerful choices we can make. Healing doesn't happen overnight, but choosing to walk away from what no longer feels right opens the door to real growth. You deserve relationships built on honesty and mutual respect, not manipulation. It's inspiring to see how protecting your peace can lead to something even better down the road. Every one of us has the strength to rebuild and find true happiness again. Let's all remember to surround ourselves with people who lift us up rather than pull us down. What about you? Have you ever had to choose your own peace over staying in a situation that no longer served you? If you like the stories, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.